Hi everyone, today's video is going to be a little different. I will be interviewing someone that will give us his perspective regarding being a parent, then getting a vasectomy, and at the end I will ask him if he is someone who regrets having children. So let's begin. Hello Zar, welcome to my channel. It's a pleasure having you here today.
Hi everyone, I'm Sar and I came to share a part of my story hoping that it can help someone else. Well, I'm 52 years old, and ever since I was a teenager, I felt that I didn't want to have children. But I didn't protect myself like I should have, so I ended up getting a girl pregnant when I was 22 years old. We were not in love, and when we discussed the situation, I asked her if she was willing to get an abortion. And she told me no, she wanted to have the child. And since I come from a traditional family, I decided that the best thing for everyone would be for us to get married, and me thinking that I was doing the right thing. So the child was born and she was premature, so she was obviously in the hospital for about 2 months. So I watched her suffer for these 2 months, and I'm not very religious, but at this time I kept saying if a God exists, I'd rather him take her because I was already started to see her suffering. And after a few months, even though things were not going good, we both have the brilliant idea that we should have another one so that our daughter doesn't grow up alone. And this comes from the mentality of the traditional family that you have 2 siblings or 3 or 4, how many children people have. But you don't stop and think whether this is an actual good idea or if it's right for everybody. You just give it no thought whatsoever who is going to be affected in this decision that you just made.
I want to mention something here, that especially when you're young, you think it's not a big deal to get married, and you do so because you think, what could go wrong, right? And you have no idea what you're getting into, because if things don't work out, instead of you just getting your stuff and leaving, now you also have to get a lawyer. And I know people who have spent more money on their divorce than they did on their wedding, all because of this nonsensical idea that if a girl gets pregnant, they want to do the right thing, quote unquote, because they think that this will give stability to the child, but they don't consider all the problems that await them when they decide to get legally attached to someone that they don't love or that they are incompatible with, but they believe the sacrifice will be worth it for the benefit of the kid. But more often than not, this only ends up in a greater disaster, and I know that the same thing happened to you. So you mentioned that ever since you were young, you didn't want to have children. Did you ever think about getting a vasectomy?
No, that never crossed my mind. Obviously, when I was younger, there wasn't much literature or talk about a vasectomy. And this information that most men have, especially in my era, we're all these macho men, and we don't know, because we're not informed on what a vasectomy is. What we think that it's something that it's going to make your penis not work. And you're like, no, I can't have that. We're like, that's not for men. Those things are the stuff that women have to worry about, not men.
And the unfortunate part is that even now, I still get people messaging me and saying, why do you want men to get castrated? They are either that ignorant or they really don't want to take any responsibility for their sexuality because they've been raised with this idea that that is something that is the responsibility of the women, not of the men. And this is why I'm making these types of videos, is to show that, no, this is a responsibility of the men.
I don't want to sound judgmental, but in my era, there was no internet. There was no information. You didn't know exactly whether this was harmful or not. And now in this era, in this time in life, I don't think men have an excuse. If you want to be messing around with how many other girls you want, and you know that by getting a vasectomy, you're not going to get a girl pregnant. And if you ever want to have kids, then you reverse it. You know, it's as simple as that.
So I know that you eventually got a vasectomy. How long ago was that?
It was around 16 years ago.
So what happened that made you change your mind or that made you decide to get a vasectomy?
After my divorce, I took a hard look at my life, and I did not want to have any kids. And by this time, I already had a partner with me, and every month was the same thing. Is she pregnant? Is she not pregnant? Because you don't know, we're fertile. It doesn't matter. Yes, you can wear a condom, but you're still always in your back of your mind, am I going to have another child? And I don't want to have another child. So I had to do my research to see what was the best thing for me. So everything always came back to a vasectomy. Once I informed myself and I saw the process, I was, how and why didn't I do this sooner? But it all falls back to this information. People think that your penis is not going to work. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you that something's not going to happen to you. But the overall percentage of people that get a vasectomy are very happy with it. I believe so. Mm-hmm. And fortunately for me, I was with a person that did not want to have kids. At the same time, had I been with a person that did want to have kids, I would have to make a decision. And the decision was very clear for me, was I would have to tell her, if you want to have kids, then you're with the wrong person.
So based on your experience of getting a vasectomy, has that been good, bad? Would you do it again? Would you recommend it to other people? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, my experience, obviously, with getting a vasectomy, yes, it's the most amazing thing that has happened to me. I wish I would have had the mentality to been able to do it sooner. I wouldn't have been, obviously, with this person. I wouldn't have gotten married because it's obvious that she wanted to have children. And I wouldn't have been having to pay child support. I love my kids, but at the end of the day, it's an economic burden to people to have to pay child support. You do it, obviously, with a lot of love because they're your children. But at the end of the day, it's tough on individuals. I'm sure it's tough for everyone, not just for me. But yes, I would definitely recommend it.
Here I want to add that many times men won't get sterilized because they are counting on the women being on birth control, so they trust that they won't get pregnant and that the contraception they're using will not fail because that's not going to happen to them, of course. Or the girl has told them that they're going to get an abortion if they get pregnant. But men need to be aware that there are at least 3 types of women. The ones who will get an abortion if the contraception fails. The ones who think they will get an abortion, but once they find out, they change their mind, or their friends or family members convince them or coerce them into having the kid. And finally, you have the women who might tell you they don't want to have kids right now because they don't want to scare you away, but they are either not using proper protection or they know that if their contraception fails, they will have the child. The problem is that you won't know how that woman is going to react until it's already too late. And I don't care how much they promise and swear to you they don't want to have a child. Many will change their mind, and now you will be stuck for the rest of your life with a responsibility you didn't want. And this child will now take away a big chunk of your money, your time, your privacy, your space, your freedom, your intimacy, your happiness, your peace of mind, your sleep, your dreams, your sanity, your relationships, etc., etc. So the only way to be sure this won't happen is to abstain from having sex, to get a vasectomy, or to be with a person that has been sterilized, of course. You mentioned that if you could turn back time, you would have gotten a vasectomy before having children, which takes me to the next question of, are you someone that regrets having children?
Yes, I am a parent that regrets having children. Talking to my children and seeing how all the issues that they have, all the problems that they go across when, this life, this amazing life that people call, and all the issues that they have because I was not a part of their life 100%. So I could have been the person that prevented that, and I decided to have them. So yes, I regret having them because I obviously am part of the problem.
So this obviously does not mean that you don't love your children, because I know a lot of people, as soon as they know or as soon as they hear somebody say that they regret having children, they automatically assume that the person is saying, oh, I don't love my children, or I am a bad parent because I regret having children. But those are 2 different things.
Whenever I've been honest with someone and I share my story with them or I tell them don't have children, the first thing out of their mouth is, so you don't love your children? No, I never said I didn't love my children. I regret having them, yes, because I see their suffering, but I love my daughters. That's something that I've been told several times, yes.
This doesn't mean that people that regret having kids should just stop caring for them. Absolutely not. If you already have kids, it's your responsibility to be the best parent you can be, even if you don't live with them. Because those kids didn't ask to be born, and you can't change reality and send them back. But if we are making this video, it's with the intention of letting you know that if you are a person that is unsure about having kids, and you're confused or have mixed emotions about it, or if you definitely know you don't want to have them, then don't do it. If you are able to get sterilized, then do that. Or do what you have to do so that you don't run the risk of having kids you don't want and that will end up destroying not only your life, but the lives of those future children. And for your own good, we are trying to avoid you the headaches, the problems, the expenses, the pain, the stress, the anxiety, the worries, and the innumerable amount of issues that you have no idea what awaits you until they are already here. And we are trying to prevent this from happening to you. Because like we are seeing today, there are people that already went through this. And if this experience can help you in some way, that is what we want. So that we can prevent this type of unnecessary suffering to someone else. Okay, so another thing that we listen to all the time, we hear people say all the time, is that having children is the most magnificent thing that could ever happen to anybody. That it's the best experience in the world, that they wouldn't change it for anything, that they would do it again in a heartbeat. But I know that not everybody feels the same way, and I know that you are one of those people.
Yeah, you hear that all the time. You know, I'm 52 years old and I'm still waiting for my Disneyland moment.
It hasn't arrived?
No. Yeah, but I have hope maybe one day it'll happen. Obviously, they're great moments. I'm not saying that it's all bad. But after having a great moment, 1,000 bad things happen and it sets you right back to reality. And it's not magical. Having children is not magical, but we're not honest with ourselves. Just look at men around you. Look at them when they're with their children. They look miserable. But of course, if you ask them if they regret having this child, they'll tell you, no, this is the most amazing thing that happened to me.
Or maybe some people find it enjoyable that they don't have any time, that they don't have any privacy, they're full of stress, anxiety, depression, that their marriage is falling apart. I don't know if that's what people think is so amazing and so great. Because like you say, when I look at parents, especially men, they look miserable. They look like they would rather be doing something else, but they're not. They're stuck with these kids that they already brought into this world and they can't do anything about. So maybe the only thing left for them to say is that, yes, they don't regret it and this is the best thing that ever happened to them because they can't say anything else.
I'm going to share with you two stories of coworkers. One's very young. He's in his early 20s. And for a while now, I've been having discussions with him about in general life. And the one thing I have mentioned is don't have children at a young age. If you're planning to have children, wait till you're mature, when you're set in life, when you've really given it thought. And some of them will jump in and will start saying how great and how magnificent having children has been for them. So now after these talks we've had, he went and got a girl pregnant. And now that he moved in with her, now he's starting to see part of the things that I have told him that is a possibility that can happen. And sometimes he'll tell me, you know, I should have kind of listened to you because what you've told me has been starting to happen. So now I'm concerned that what you told me, that it's a possibility that you will get divorced if you marry her, you will pay child support, and you will not be in your kid's life in general. And he's starting to see that and he's starting to get concerned. But now it's too late. It's too late to turn back the clock. And it amazes me that people think it's not going to happen to them. But obviously all these coworkers are all telling them the best thing that happened to me is having children and this is amazing. You're going to have a great time. blah, 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 like you say. And the next day or even a few moments later, they all start talking, all this stuff that their children does that they don't like and all this misery that a parent goes through. They start talking about this. I obviously did not say nothing to them, but it's like right now you just proved my point. That you say it's magical, and then you just right now gave me 1,000 stories, all you guys, on how miserable it is to be a parent. And I'll share another story of another coworker that he's plastered this all over Facebook. Like, this is the most amazing thing that I've ever happened to me. I love my child. I think his child is probably about 2 years old or something like that. But he's always posting pictures. He's always talking amazing about his kid. So if we finish early, he stays in his car because he dreads going home to a crying baby and to a child that he has to take care of, that he has to show him love. He will not go home. He'll stay till when it's time for him to actually leave and then sit in traffic instead of getting home early to his kid. And it just amazes me that you post this stuff all over Facebook that this is the most amazing thing that happened to you, yet you don't want to spend time with your kid. You guys all prove my points. And in my point of view, when it comes to children, the negative outweighs the positive of having a child.
I think that for many people, many more than are willing to admit it, they are not immensely happy, and it's not the best thing that ever happened to them. But we live in a society where it's not acceptable to be honest about it, because if you are, people are going to attack you and criticize you for saying that you regret having children. So most of these people will lie because they care more about being seen as good parents or not hurting the feelings of their kids than they care about being honest with future parents and trying to help them not make the same mistakes they made. I also think that many people romanticize having kids just like they romanticize life and marriage, so they only see what they want and what makes them feel good, not what would make them feel regret. Perhaps others are not even aware of how miserable they are because society hasn't given parents permission to see things objectively and think, is this really as amazing as I think it is and as people say it is? Or do I feel this way because that's what I've been told and programmed to think and feel about it? Even though if I'm honest with myself and I put things on a scale, the bad outweighs the good almost every time and in every way when it comes to being a parent. And that's one of the objectives of this channel, to make people question their beliefs and let them know that it's okay to not want to live a traditional life, quote unquote, to get married and have kids, etc., if that's not what they really want to do. And to give them the strength to stand up to those that want to pressure them to think like they do and believe that reproducing is their only purpose in life. I want to let them know that they're not alone and they're not crazy or bad people for thinking differently, as long as their actions are not harming others, and that it's possible to have a happy and fulfilling life without having kids. Do you think that there could ever be any situation in your life where you would change your mind regarding your vasectomy?
No, for no woman in this world, I would change my mind and have a child. I don't care how great of a person she is and how well she treats me or how in love I am. My conviction's so strong that I am so determined not to have a child in my life. My sanity and my liberty outweighs any feelings that I could have towards any woman.
So what I'm hearing you say is that this is something that is non-negotiable.
Yes, it's non-negotiable. And if you really want to have children, adopt them, don't have them. There are so many children out there that need a loving home.
I totally agree. And I know that a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't get sterilized because what if you meet someone and they want to have kids with you? Blah, blah, blah. I would tell them, the person that would make me change my mind about having a child does not exist. Doesn't matter how wonderful they are or how in love I would be. Nobody, and I mean nobody, would be worth me going against my conviction for them. And any person that would try to force or coerce another one to give him a child is not an individual that I would want to be with or that I would consider to be good. So hearing you say all of this is something that I wonder and that I wish I could ask many people that have children is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to sacrifice so much, to put your life and your dreams aside and to have your life revolve around somebody else? Like, is it really worth it?
Well, if I'm honest with myself, no, it is not worth it. It is not.
So now let me ask you this question. Do you think that you would be or would have been happier if you wouldn't have had kids?
Yes. Based on what I've shared with you, it is obvious that I would be happier if I didn't have kids.
I asked this question because I think very few people are willing to answer it honestly. And there have been a couple of my friends that have admitted to me that they also regret having kids. And I think that it's probably even a bit liberating for them to come out and say it, even if it's only to me. And perhaps we should start normalizing this and giving people the space to express how they really feel instead of just expecting them to pretend that they love it. And this is where I want to mention the Facebook page called I Regret Having Children, where people anonymously write their testimony about the horrors of being a parent and how much they regret it. I will leave you the link in the description box so you can check it out. And I have it also in the description box of every single one of my videos. You know, speaking of happiness, I just want to say one last thing. That it boggles my mind when I hear people say that those who choose to reproduce are the only ones who are happy, fulfilled, and have a meaningful life, while those who don't are all miserable, empty, and selfish individuals because they opted out of parenthood. As if the happiness of their breeders was real and valuable, and the happiness of the child free was fake or non-existent. Yet these are the same folk who I'm sure were happily enjoying their life before they had kids, but now all of a sudden they think that when you decide to not reproduce, in that precise moment, your joy and purpose in life completely disappear and your life becomes a dark hole that will never see the light of day again. What a joke. Perhaps they are just projecting their frustration onto us, or they're jealous that we still own our life and they don't, or maybe misery loves company. I don't know. But what I do know is that I wouldn't change my lifestyle for anything or anyone. So do you have any final words?
I just want to say that the best decision of my life was getting sterilized. And my advice is to not let society convince you that having kids is the most fulfilling thing ever to happen to you, because that has not been my experience. Once you've committed to having children, your life, your sanity, and your liberty is pretty much over. And we fool ourselves thinking that we're only putting our life on pause, when in reality, you will be responsible for them for the rest of your life. And if you really don't want to have kids, nobody better than you can prevent that from happening, and the best thing would be to get a vasectomy.
Well, I think with this we conclude our video for today. Thank you, Zar, for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for watching and have a great day. Bye.